figure I'd get on here and move on to the next part of our course. So today it's going to be about day 3, part 2. So this is basically what I pretty much accomplished after lunch on day 3. And this is really going to start to feel like you're actually getting a bathroom together. So, hey, on the way in, please give me a like if you would. Really helps out the algorithm. Subscribe if you haven't so that you get notified of these live streams. I'm a little bit late right now, but that's because I'm continuously having technical difficulties with this stuff. But I'll get it eventually here. So, but thanks for joining me this morning. For all who's here, let me check to see if we are live because I'm still uncertain of this. Yep, okay, I am live. That's good. So yeah, let's just get right into it. So this is day 3. This is a 7-day bathroom remodel that I did in real time this summer, and I'm basically documenting the whole thing and creating a course on how to go about this day by day and get this done in 7 days. And it's a complete bathroom remodel from start to finish. So let's just go ahead and recap this. If you've already been watching these online streams, come back in about 5 minutes because I'm going over the entire process that we have so far. So from the beginning of the demo to where we're going to be leaving off here. So this is going to be about a 5-minute video that I'm going to be showing here. So let me just make sure. Get this here. And I want to get my live chat up here. And let's see here, live chat. Send a message every 10 minutes is on. Okay. So I don't see anybody in the live chat yet. Okay, good morning. Okay. Thanks, babe. Nikki, she posted for me. So let's go through what the process was to this point. So from day 1 and moving on. And again, I want this to be interactive. So anybody's on here, if you have a question, I'll answer it and we'll try to move on. Or I'll just pause the video and further clarify. But my hope is that I'll eventually get more people on these live streams that are actually really serious about doing bathroom remodeling and it can help out. So let's go over the full recap from day 1 until now. So obviously first thing is to remove that toilet, get it out of there. I'm always needing to get these 2 items out of there so I have some room to video, but it also just allows you to get all your tools and stuff in place. So removing the vanity, removing the toilet, having those supply lines caps ahead of time is really important so you get the water turned back on. Then we go ahead and remove the drain assembly. And hey, remember, always turn off the water before you even get started into this demo. All this old plumbing is usually in bad shape and very difficult. The valves don't work. You want to shut off the water to the whole house. I've learned that the hard way and many, many times. So, so anyways, just getting right into the demo after removing those 2 main parts of the bathroom. This is going to be a real question mark when you get into your own bathroom of how difficult that tub surround is to get out. A lot of the 70s and 80s, they would just install tile right over top of the drywall, so it's actually pretty easy. And then this is another important thing to have on hand that first day. If you don't have a window in your bathroom, you're going to want to put a temporary light in. So make sure you have that temporary pigtail light so that you can get light on and move on with your day. But I always recommend removing all of the drywall in a bathroom remodel, especially if you're doing everything from installing a tub, the tile, putting a new toilet, vanity. Just get rid of all those existing walls, especially if you have wallpaper like this. It's it's a lot more time consuming trying to address that and match up with existing walls than it is to just do new drywall. I always like to take out the ceilings as well because I'm putting a new vent fan in. I want to put new insulation in, or make sure that everything's in good shape there. But really, moving that vent fan and everything's a lot easier when you have the ceiling taken out. One of my favorite fans is the Whisper Line vent fans. This is made by Panasonic. Really always had great luck with these. And then I always like to separate the light from the fan, so putting a separate light than that. And I always like to put the drywall in on the first day too. That really helps to ease the anxiousness of the client as well. So second day, we're going to get right into the plumbing. So you want to get rid of that old trap. Doesn't really matter if it's a new trap or not. I mean, well, I shouldn't say new, but you're probably not remodeling your bathroom if it's only 5 years old. You're probably doing it because it's 30 years old. So you want to replace that trap, put new subflooring down if you have to, and then adapt to that. Now, this is a really tricky part. This second day might take longer just because you don't know how you're going to go ahead about adapting things, and you're going to find things in these first 2 days that are going to might hold you up on getting everything done. But if you put the drain assembly on the tub before you set it in place and you're by yourself, it's a heck of a lot easier. So I always put the drain assemblies together before I set the tub. And then, there's going to be many times that you have to dry fit a tub to fit into place. So typically on a normal bathroom, it takes me 3 to 4 times that I'm dry fitting that tub, make sure everything's sitting properly and even, especially when you're putting that ledger board up. So that's why it's easier to get rid of everything in the bathroom, get all those walls out. It'll make this process a lot faster and easier. So as you can see, I'm continuing moving on, making sure that I put my trap together before I put the tub in. That's going to make it a lot faster and easier rather than trying to cram yourself underneath of it to connect it, and then secure your tub. So always pay attention to the manufacturer's specifications on installing the tubs, and then you can go ahead and install your trap. I always like to use the glued in trap, the solvent welds. I think that is the best way to go, and then moving right on to installing your shower valve. Now, this course, I always am basically demonstrating the fastest and the easiest ways to go about things, and I actually have a lot better tips that, if you buy the right valve that already has everything ready for PEX, it'll make this process a lot faster for you. There's always a cost between labor and time. So, it is a little bit more for a valve that, has those fittings on there, but it makes it a lot easier. And you always want to fill that tub, check that overflow. And then this is the third day. So we move right into making sure that we have our framing all in line with one another and getting ready for that backer board. So in this instance, obviously you want to put nail guards over your plumbing and then protect the electrical. But I like to use shims, these 1/4 inch. It depends on how much of a gap you have between the tub. But in this instance, I had 1/4 inch strips that I put on the back of the tub and then 1/2 inch strips on that right side so that I can slide the backer board over top of the tub. I also like to put blocking in for all my accessories. There's nothing worse than those stupid accessories that you just have drywall anchors. They always fall apart. If you put blocking behind your accessories, it'll stay in there for a very long time. Then you go ahead and install the drywall. I have a lot of great tips on there to speed that up for you, and then you want to apply that first coat of mud. This is day 3 when I'm doing the drywall work. Basically, right before lunch, I have my first coat on everything, and then I move on to framing the niche and doing the backer board, doing the waterproof tub surround. So this is really all about being efficient, getting things done. I'll admit I'm not always the cleanest installer. You'll see that most of my videos here are pretty raw. This is just the way that I work. But I've been doing this for, bathrooms exclusively for the last 14 years. So I have a lot of experience, and I've really kind of bring things down to a certain pattern of getting things done. So this is all in a course that I'm obviously selling, but I'm really have it at a very, very, very low price right now just because I don't have it complete. You guys are giving me motivation to actually get this done in a timely manner. So my hope is I'm going to have all 7 days together by the end of this month. But I'm doing these live streams as I'm putting this stuff out here. I wanted to put this on YouTube just so you could see what this is all about. You can actually just take this whole course, watch it here on YouTube. If you go to my channel and look under playlist, and if you haven't subscribed, please do. The more subscribers, it's not really about getting as high numbers as you can. It's just there's thresholds in YouTube in order for my videos to get viewed more, and subscribers is one of those analytics that they pay attention to, along with watch hours and then the likes. So likes, comments, subscribers, all of that makes a channel kind of move. And it's not like YouTube just hand picks people. This is an algorithm that no one really understands. But once it grabs it, it really goes out there. I've seen it happen before. So Please subscribe. Please like this video. Really helps out the channel. Doesn't cost you anything. You don't have to pay money to subscribe. You just have to have a Google account and then just click, subscribe. That's it. That's all it is. So, I don't think it's too much. And I mean, unfortunately, the way that, all of this stuff works on YouTube is that you're watching ads. So all these live streams that I'm going to have on here, there's going to be ads every 10 minutes once I get monetized again. Right now, everything's down. So you don't watch any ads on any of my stuff right now until I get things straightened out with YouTube. But, basically these live streams, they'll have ads everywhere on them. But if you go to playlists on my channel, and go to, a bathroom remodeling online course right here. So if you go on here. Hey everyone, I just want to let you know about sorry guys. If you go to, go to my playlist. I don't know why that always pops up on that. View full playlist. Sorry about that. So here I have all of the different ones that are already up and ready to go. So if you want to review that, you can go back and take a look at that. So let's get into the course. Let's see if we have anybody in the chat. Hey, How to Grow. Thanks for being here. Jeff, thank you. I do a lot, but you learn something every day. Hey, man, exactly. I mean, if you're a tradesman and you're doing bathrooms, it's always good to learn from everyone else. That's one of the great things. I mean, all this social media stuff, Instagram, TikTok. I mean, I'm learning every day. I think I swear I've learned more now since I've started putting myself out there more and putting my videos out, and I'm getting criticized left and right. I'm taking a lot of that criticism, to heart to a certain extent, but I'm taking it in because there's, bathroom remodeling, there is so many different fields in that space that you can be an expert each one of them. So obviously a plumber, it takes a lot of experience to become a licensed mastered plumber. So, everything in a bathroom, I can learn from other professionals that, are up to date on all the codes. I try to be up as date as possible, but I am not a licensed plumber. So I'm not really in that field, and I don't deal with those type of inspectors and stuff. So, bathroom remodeling, it's one of the most complex parts of your house, because you got the plumbing, you got the electrical, you got tile work, you got drywall work, you got HVAC work, you got every professional in that. And so that's one of the reasons when you hire some of these bigger companies, like these really large companies, to come do your bathroom, they have like 5 or 6 different subcontractors that come in, and that usually draws out the entire project into months just because of the scheduling issues. So even what I just showed you about how we started this whole process, there would have been a big lag time unless you're a big enough company to have like a plumber on hand and can just be there right when they need you, or right when you need them, I should say, to keep the project going. It's a hard thing to do. I mean, you have to be willing to take on millions of dollars worth of jobs in order to have a crew that can be efficient. So, I've been primarily doing everything myself. Now, when it comes into like doing additions or new homes or whatever, obviously there's some really sophisticated plumbing, math, and everything that has to go with it. You need a licensed plumber. And so, I'm not trying to state, hey, do all this stuff yourself. Check with your own local building codes. I'm not in your home. I'm not in your area. I don't know all of the intricacies of your township and what is needed. That's not what this is about. This is just about showing the process that I go through. So you're just kind of, watching the journey that I'm going through. So it's kind of the same thing as like, this is not financial advice. This is just the way I do it. And if you want to follow along, please do. So there's my disclaimer on that. But if you go to bathroomremodeling.teachable.com, you can find this course. Like, again, I'm not going to go into a huge sales pitch on it, but it's basically, I have just started. It's been tremendous to see how many people have joined. But I have up to day 3 right now. And so right now I have 2 courses. I have one on custom glass enclosures. So if you have a, custom bathroom remodeling, this is always the last part of the project that is people get sticker shocked by. a typical 3x4, 3x5 corner glass enclosure, you could be getting estimates of $2,500 to $3,000 all day. The real core materials, mostly if you're doing 3/8 inch glass, is around $1,500. So if you buy this course, you can learn how to measure, install, and do all of that yourself. I have a lot of guidance in there on measuring, and then making sure that your measurements are clear, so when you bring it to the glass company to have it made, that there isn't any confusion. So I think for $60, I really come up with something. I don't have that many members in there right now. I could use some real feedback for any of the people that are in there. I'll probably doing some live streams on that as well, because again, you could screw up an entire glass enclosure as far as measuring, and still be way under what it's going to cost another contractor to come out and do it. So, there's a lot of, and if you're already a towel contractor that are doing custom showers, this is something that could make you a good extra $1,000 on your job. And it's really not that hard of work. If you're doing intricate towel work, you can set glass. It's not, it's just a matter of being, accurate on your measuring and whatnot. So, but the tub and shower course, like I said, 7 days or less. Probably not going to do less. I mean, especially if you don't do this all the time. But let's just get right into what this day 3 is all about. So I'm going to preview this as a student. So if you were a student, you would see what you have available. What my goal is eventually is to have everything about bathrooms in this kind of layout, so then you can bundle it all together, buy it and get, because there's endless amounts of stuff in bathroom remodeling to learn. There's always new products coming out. And, like I said, I'm learning every day, and I'm just passing on the things that have made it efficient and easy for me. And I think you'll find it as well. So getting into the course. So again, it goes through the demo stage to installing the tub, to tub and shower faucet, and then waterproofing, which we're getting into today, hanging drywall, towel setting, and then one of my favorites is epoxy grouting. I think if you want to use white grout, that epoxy is probably your best bet to keep that long lasting and really looking good. But there are a lot of key points to grouting with epoxy that you want to pay attention to. But you shouldn't be afraid of it. It's definitely something that is really durable, and it actually, in some ways, is easier to install than even a traditional grout. But so when you get into the course, this is basically the curriculum. I have an introduction. Day 1, I just break everything down by the day, basically. So this is day 3, and let me just go over the day 3 goals real quick, because I always have this at the beginning of each video, or of each section of it, because that is one of the most important things to do is be focused in getting things, a certain amount of things done each day, because it's really easy to get distracted in a bathroom remodel. You can easily mess around with electrical for half the day and then not have your tub in and not have things done. So bathrooms, there's always an order of operation of installing things, and then there's also setting times. So if your tub was on level and you're trying to add, like floor leveler takes, an hour or so to dry. So there's all these different time setting issues with bathrooms. So you need to kind of stay on schedule with what you're installing, and then you can fool around with the electrical or additional plumbing work that you want to address, or whatever it is. Again, it's just about staying focused. So let me just go through the recap of the goals of the day, just so that you can see what's up for that day. Okay, so day 3. I hope day 2 wasn't too overwhelming for you. I know getting into the plumbing, sometimes you just don't know what to expect, and you're a little bit nervous about whether it leaks or not. So hopefully you overcame day 2. Day 3, the focus point here now is to hang the rest of this drywall, get that first coat of mud on there, because it takes time for this stuff to dry. So you need to get the drywall up, get a first coat on it, and then the second part of the day is to get the waterproofing on the tub surround, and then also putting the Ditra mat on the floor as well. So it's another big day, but I promise you it'll get a little bit easier as we get all these components together, and you'll feel like you really are starting to get back to a normal bathroom. Okay, so I'll admit, on this one, this was before, as you could see where I'm at, like this is what my plan was for the day. So the only thing that didn't work out on this one was putting that Ditra mat down. It just took a little bit longer to do the Go board installation. So in each one of my goals of the day, I kind of just do a rundown again, just refreshing your mind of what needs to be done. So obviously day 3 is about getting everything prepped for new drywall and your backer board. But I have a lot of, basically a list of things that are helpful, along with just some extra pointers. And hey, that's where, if you're in this course and you have more questions, the more common questions you have, the more that I can make this better for everyone. And, if I get a lot of common questions on a certain topic, I'll address that and put that in there just to make it more clear. But most of what I do is just getting straight to the point of the main parts of things. I don't go into huge intros and, just kind of re-expressing a lot of things that don't need to be done. But I have links in here for, the drywall gun and all these different things that I use. Not really trying to sell those or anything. I'm just purely trying to give out the information of the stuff that I'm using. So I go into the type of drywall mud that I like to use, and just some other helpful links. Sometimes I do find some things on Amazon that are like, wow, that's a pretty good deal. So like, for instance, this right here, this is a DeWalt pan with all these knives. I thought that was a great deal for $80. So I have a link in there for that. But anytime I find something like that makes it easier, better, I put it in there. But today, primarily, we're going to be talking about this section. This is that, after lunch, before lunch, I usually like to get that first coat on that mud, and then I move on to the next process. And that's going to be framing the niche and going over the tile layout. Now, this can hog up a lot of time, and you'll see when we get into it how it can, but you have to kind of have it already in your mind about what you're going to do with tile layout before you frame in a niche, or, really, if you're not doing a niche, you probably don't have too much to be concerned about, because the niche is one of the biggest areas that you don't want to have slivers and things against. But if you're putting a border, like a mosaic border in it, you want to think about these things as you're framing things. And, if you're doing shower doors or something like that, you want to have framing behind your shower doors. So you really want to pay attention to, basically what your end product's going to be at this stage. Because if you don't prep things properly at this stage, it's going to make it a lot more difficult for you later on. Just like the accessories. I put that blocking in for the accessories. Without that blocking, you're using those stupid drywall anchors. And if you're a contractor, there's nothing worse than getting a call back for a stupid towel bar that fell off, because that's going to hog up 2 hours of your day. And it's not like you can go ahead and charge that client any more money. It's just, you have to, you just have to take care of your client. And one of the ways to do that is to put blocking behind it, so you don't have to mess with that. If they break it off with wood blocking behind it, then they're going to have to pay for it, because obviously it was something that was way beyond, just hanging a towel on it. So, and then number 5, which is the big step, and I really go into detail on this, and that's waterproofing your tub surround. I can't express this enough. This is one of the most important areas that you really want to pay attention to. And I'm basically using one of my best, or one of my favorite systems for that, the Go Board system. So I'll go into a whole bunch of reasons, but just remember, you can always comment. If you're part of this group and you have a comment and you want to send a picture of what you're doing, I'd love to see this be kind of like a forum where people post things and really get some good information. So let's get right into framing a corner niche. So I decided to do a corner niche in this bathroom. Now, there's a lot of things to think about when you're placing a niche and where you're going to locate it. But in this situation, I've been putting a lot of these corner niches in tub areas, because I think it's just a convenient place to put your soaps and everything. And it's kind of hidden. So being on the plumbing wall on the front and tucked in the corner, you're not having everything on display when you walk into the bathroom. I mean, I love building beautiful niches that are on the back wall. I have done so many of them that, they look beautiful, but they only look beautiful when I'm taking a picture at the end of the project. It's not, next time I go in there's soap and everything all over it. And it's just, not unclean, but it's just, who wants to see a Pert Plus bottle in the back of their shower? So I think having this tucked in the corners make a lot of sense. But there's a lot of things I'm going to go into here that you want to pay attention of the location. You don't want to be in a bad location for your deal. But so let's just get right into it, framing the corner niche in the tile layout. And I'll probably pause this. And again, if you have any questions, ask them here in the chat. I'll pause it and try to address any of those questions. In this video, I'm going to demonstrate how to frame and prepare for a corner shower niche in a tub surround. And we're going to be going over the methods and the best ways to go about planning your corner niche. Okay, so we're going to be putting a recessed niche, and this client wanted one in the corner. So obviously this wasn't an exterior wall, so you could put a niche anywhere in this wall. It also wasn't load bearing, so it wasn't a big deal to do it back here, but they actually just wanted things kind of hidden in the corner of the tub surround. That is one thing about niches. You make a really beautiful niche and then you just junk it up with all your stuff, and that's all you see. So having it hidden in the corner really does make a lot of sense, and it makes it nice. But we don't have all that much room. Like our center of our shower valve is about 14 3/4. This is a 30-inch tub, so it's not going to leave a whole lot of room
it really
for a niche. But what I want to do is cut out the studs and create a corner niche. And what I prefer is the wall tile on this wall going straight into the niche. So we're going to be taking out this 2x4 as well in order to restructure it. But I want to figure out, it's always about what tile that you're actually using and determining the height of where this niche is. Now I'm going to be building one that's about 36 inches tall approximately, so that you have at least 10 inches of room above in between each compartment. But really, that's one thing you should pay attention to, is like what kind of products are you putting in there. Is your soap bottle 16 inches? If it is, then you want to make it a bigger niche. But in this scenario, doing 10-inch compartments is good enough. So what I always recommend on the any tile, especially around the tub, is to go down around the tub. So at least going a couple inches down below, so that you can make this corner very nice. If you were just to keep this straight right here, you would have just one tiny little sliver of tile that you would be creating out of the piece below this. So I think it is better to bring it halfway down and then just create that whole curvature of the tub so that you have a nice caulk joint to go against. Also, if you remember, my tub is slightly off level, about 1/4 inch, maybe a little less than that, 3/16 over the entire 5-foot area. So you want to scribe cut that first tile to meet nice to the tub. So if you went with straight pieces, you'd end up with a 3/16 inch gap on the one side of the tub, probably on the back side here. So
and actually,
it's better off
the other
to
way.
Always cut that first row of tile so that you have the ability to scribe cut that tile and make it go down towards the tub.
And that's a really important thing to pay attention to. You don't want to just start out with a full tile, because when I'm in this rough end stage, of framing and installing a tub, you can go ahead and be completely precise. And I completely commend all the contractors out there that just do everything perfectly. But I'm about efficiency and getting things done. And I've always believed that if you're 1/4 inch out, it's just not that big of a deal to overcome. And it really comes with the plan like this, where you're making sure that you're not starting out with a full tile so that you can scribe cut it. No one is ever going to notice the difference between one side of the tub and the other with 1/4 inch, unless you started out with a full tile and you have a big caulk joint that gets bigger as it goes down. But in my mind, I don't think there's, 1/4 inch. I mean, if you go over that, then I would probably say go ahead and address that. And there's a couple of ways you can do that. And that's some of the things that I want to add to this course as well, because a lot of these older homes, 1920s, 30s, 40s, whatever, there's usually structural issues with the home to a certain extent, where things have sagged and the floors can be tremendously out of level. And I want to add some things onto that to, help you figure out how to address that. So, there's really a couple main ways of going about leveling your bathroom floor. And one of them would be literally taking all the plywood out and sistering new joists onto those existing joists to raise the height. Now that's usually only when it's really bad. I'm saying, like, half inch out, maybe even more than that, an inch out. I've actually been in some older bathrooms that were literally an inch and a half out from one side of the bathroom to the other. And when you get into that, you have to rip out that flooring and see what structurally is going on, because there has been some really actually I should probably do a whole video on that someday. There was a bathroom I did in Sewickley. I'm in Pittsburgh, by the way. I did a home in Sewickley, and there must be some plumber around this area 20-30 years ago that would replace some of the old, because a lot of Sewickley's really old. So there's some homes that are like built in 1920s, even before that. And, so back then, they had limited amount of piping. They didn't have PVC. They didn't have ABS. At least I don't believe they did. At least they didn't have it around here from what I can tell. But it was always usually cast iron, and then they would use galvanized plumbing. Galvanized, if you see that in your home, I really highly recommend you replace that, because it's only a matter of time that it's going to rust away or crumble apart or get clogged, and you won't be able to unclog it. So, but anyways, this plumber, I've seen it in many different homes down in this area, where he would just hack the studs, the joists to run new plumbing. And they would be, this one bathroom I did, it was literally, there was only an inch left of the joist on all of the joists in the main room. So the whole room dipped. But when I pulled that subfloor up, I was like, I can't believe your bathroom is even on the second story. I figured, you figured for sure by now, your whole bathroom would have collapsed. So when you're really significantly out of level, you have to look at that structure, see what's going on there. And, whether you need an engineer to give you advice on how to fix it or what, but that's usually extreme situations. But you should be able to tell some of those indications before you even get started in your bathroom. So if you're an inch and a half out from one side of the bathroom to the other, you got some significant problems that you got to maybe, reevaluate before you start digging into that, because it might take you a lot longer to fix. But in a traditional bathroom, if you're a half inch out, floor leveler can work just fine. It's just a matter of making sure that you seal all around the room so you don't get that floor leveler in areas that you don't want to. So that can delay this process by, a half a day, if not longer, by having to do that. But you're definitely going to make everything easier if you have a level floor. But I just implore that you just do it within reason. Don't kill yourself over a 1/4 inch, because there's ways to go about it that won't even make a difference with the outcome of what it looks like. But starting out with a half tile or a 3/4 inch tile or 3/4 of that tile is really the best way to go, because it gives you flexibility to go all the way around that tub and make those joints nice and tight. So what I think I want to do is, you have to reference what the height is going to be going to the ceiling, and if you have any border. We're going to be doing like a 3 to 4 inch border in the shower, about 3/4 of the way through. So the other thing I'm thinking about is, where's my shower rod going to be? My shower rod typically anywhere between 58 and 60 inches to the center of off of the top deck is typically where you put a shower rod. Yeah, it really depends on the curtain,
on what you're purchasing.
Yep.
So we want to keep note of that as far as our layout of the tile goes. So let's just say, for instance, right now, we want to make it 4 inches off the tub. That's probably not a bad idea for... And I picked that number because that's usually what I go with. And it usually works out just fine. But again, just like Lasman just said here, you got to pay attention to not getting a sliver at the ceiling. There's nothing worse than tiling and getting a sliver at the ceiling. It is painful. But, with a simple tub surround like I'm installing here, and like I said, the mosaic that you'll be seeing here, the mosaic that I'm going to be installing is with that linear glass. So in a 12-inch sheet, you can make it either having 3 pieces per sheet or 4 pieces per sheet. Those things can be pretty expensive. So you might want to just make it a 3-inch border. But most of the time, I make sure you order enough to get like a 4-inch border. So if you need more height when you get up to your border and you see that you're going to end up with a sliver, you can add a little bit more to that border, and then your tile layout works fine. But yeah, it is painful to tile and then get to a certain point and then realize, oh man, I'm going to have a 1/2 inch sliver at the top of there. So paying attention to that at this stage is, it's just going to make it
better. If you're looking like you're going to be just right, you might want to adjust that layout so that you can cut that top tile and make that work. Having at least 2 inches going down below the tub. So what I would recommend is just taking your tile and just marking it up the wall. Now you're going to have some grout joints here, so it might expand a little bit more, but it's going to be close enough to get a good reference point. And that's all this is too. Of your tile layout. It's not made to be 100% precise. This is just to get that niche created and get an idea. Okay, so then this is about where I'd like to have my border. And like I said, we're going to be going 3 to 4 inches. So we have some variability there. So that's going to be nice. When you use those mosaics that have a bunch of different components in it, you can rip those down off the 12-inch sheets to be 3 or 4 inches wide. So you have some variability there, just in case you needed additional height so that you can have your tile finish off. So we'll make this basically where our border is. Let's just double check where our shower rod will come. And yeah, so 60 inches would be about right in the middle of that border. So that'll work out well. And so let's just go above this. And this is kind of the important part. So yeah, we're just about even with the ceiling. Now, most of the time when you're penciling this and you're going right against your tile, it's actually going to grow in height. It'll actually be a little bit higher because we're going to be using 16th inch grout joints. So that's good because if you have a little bit more height, then you have a little bit more to cut off. So one other thing you want to pay attention to is the height overall, just kind of gauge. So we got about 72 and 7/8, or I'm sorry, 73 and 7/8, 74. So just double check all the way around your tub to see if that ceiling's about the same height. That's 74. So 73 and 3/4. So this is a little bit higher. This is that 1/4 inch difference. So if it's higher, not a big deal. That means I'm going to be cutting more of the tile off of here. So this is going to be my low point. So this is the point that I want to pay attention to. Am I going to get a sliver, or am I going to be cutting a little bit of the tile off? So in this instance, it looks like I'll probably be cutting about a 1/4 inch off of that top tile. And again, you can add another piece of the border if you really needed to get that. And I should state that, yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, you can add a little bit more to that border to grow that, which could be just an easy solution. But a 1/4 inch, if you come up with a 1/4 inch like I just did there, just to be safe, I would probably make that first tile like 4.5 inches versus 4 inches. Like I like to have a good 1/2 inch buffer just in case, things aren't, lining up exactly the way I wanted to. 1/4 inch, you're kind of playing a little bit of a dicey game there of whether it's going to work out perfectly or not. But in a small tub surround like this, and having that variability with the border, I wasn't concerned about it. But if you wanted to give yourself just a little bit of extra insurance, just start out with a larger tile. And you can evaluate this again when you're actually getting into the tiling process. And I typically do, but this is where you want to get your mind straight on what you're doing, so that you can, think about this as you're putting things together. Because I'm a real, I'm definitely somebody who visualizes everything that I'm doing on these projects prior to doing them. So like I dream about it. It's like I'm living in, I'm obsessed with it, put it that way. So, and that's where, I'm hoping that this course will give you some guidance on how to think about things, because it really comes down to that if you want to accomplish things. Like, marathon runners, they don't just go out there and start running it and make a record. I mean, maybe there are some people that do that, but most of the time they've been working at it a very, very long time, and they're visualizing how they're going to overcome challenges. And so, when I get into a project, it's just completely focused on it, but this is a good time to really, start mulling over how you're going to do your tile layout. Height once you get up here. So you have a lot of flexibility with that. So the whole point of going over this now is to determine where my niche is. So where did I say that was? Here and here. Okay, so this is a grout line right here. So let's put our laser accurately on there. And that laser's okay. So that laser's not bad. I have another reference down below. This is the green laser from DeWalt. I'm still not really happy with it because it has a little what do you want to call it? Well, I won't even pause the video. I'll get into that later about the tools and stuff like that. But a laser is a really important tool for this project. If you're doing a bathroom model, buy yourself a laser. It's going to help you hang the mirror. It's going to help you hang the accessories. It's going to help you with the tile layout. It's going to keep everything. You can even, I even put it, shoot it on my vanity so that I could see how level I'm installing things. A laser is a really a must-have tool in carpentry these days. You won't see a tradesman without one these days now. If maybe some are still just using the levels and stuff, but this is, ever since they came out with lasers that are accurate like this, it's definitely the way you want to go. This is the edge of, this is a grout joint right here. So what I want to pay attention to here is that since this full tile is coming down, I don't want to sliver up against my bullnose tile. So my bullnose is going to be coming down 1.5 inches. So that would leave me, basically a 4.5 inch piece below. So that's not bad. That gives me a good reference point. You just don't want to have an L cut where you're just like having a small sliver at the bottom. You don't want to, anything with this size tile, anything less than 2 inches is going to look like you forced it or that you didn't plan ahead. Yeah. So anything 2 inches and above, I would say no one's really going to notice, and it's going to look like you planned it. So in this instance, we're going to be about 4.5 inches, so that's going to look great. So we'll be just L notching around that bullnose tile, and as long as I have a nice, decent sized piece underneath of my bullnose, I'll be happy. I would say if it's less than, this would be basically my finished tile layer myself for the niche. So we're gonna we'll give ourselves some room. We'll give ourselves a 1/2 inch for tile, and then we'll give ourselves a 1/2 inch for backer board. Okay, so that's 1 inch, and then we want to reduce this down 1.5 inches. So this will be where we cut our cut marks here for our 2x4. I might have misspoke there with my math, whatever, but that's all you really want to pay attention to. And remember, you can always make, at this stage with the rough in, you can make the niche bigger than what you need and just be extra safe, because you can just add, to build up the bottom of the niche to meet up with your tile layer is not a big deal. The waterproofing is a big deal. If you're too small on your niche, you can't really, you can and you have to at sometimes, but having to cut into that and lower it and everything else is a real pain in the neck. Whereas if it's too low, you can always just build that up with extra thin set. You can even add another piece of the go board to build it up, or I've even had to use an extra piece of tile. I just tile and I tile over the tile so that I could get my bottom ledge meeting up with things. So, and I always reference that, and you'll see in the rest of my course when I'm actually doing the tile layout, I like to have, the bullnose overhang that niche, so that I can build up thin set behind the sides of the tile and get them even with that bullnose. So making the niche bigger than what you need is definitely the way to go. So this is just kind of giving you a reference point. But bottom line is with a 6x6 tile, or most tiles that you use, if you shoot your laser on the grout joint, typically everything works out fine no matter what kind of edging you use, because you're not going to have a sliver. So that's kind of like the easy point, is just to put that laser at the grout joint and make sure that your niche is lower than that grout joint, and everything will work out well. Okay, so then I wanted this to be 36 inches. So that's our cut mark for it. So we need 36 plus 3 is 39. So this will be another tile joint here. Simplest thing again is to find where your grout joint is going to be at the top, and then subtract 2 inches, because you're going to have just give yourself 1/2 inch of room for tile, 1/2 inch backer board, and then your 2x4. So this is our grout joint. So we'll go 2 inches, and this will be our cut mark. Obviously, can't 2 inches above. A 2x4 is 1.5 inches thick, so it's really 2.5. I don't know why I said 2. I'll have my 1.5 2x4 here.
And then what this will do is, so this is going to be my grout joint. So this is going to be my finished edge. So we'll have 1.5 inch bull nose that's going to come up. So we're going to have plenty of room around that niche. So you'll have like a 4-inch L-notch piece that will go around the top of that. So that's perfectly fine. Like I said, you just want to avoid a sliver above it. So that's basically the concept, is go to your grout joint, go 2 inches up from that, and then that will create your niche. Now width-wise, you have an escutcheon plate, and typically they're about 7 to 8 inches circumference. So you're going to have basically this whole area for your escutcheon plate. So you're not going to be able to make this very big, and we need to have some framing for this. So we're really only going to have about a 9-inch shelf within this. It's going to be fairly small. So, but we need to get some framing within this area. But the first thing we're going to do is cut these out.
Demonetized again. Let me pause this. I gotta. My last video, I forget I had music in this, and I just put a copyright claim on the last one. So I think, yeah, I'm gonna turn down the volume on this because YouTube does not like that. Oh. Sorry, I do have some soothing music behind this. You just can't hear it because YouTube will demonetize me, and I don't want to pay for the rights for that. A lot of times, the back of this wall is usually a closet. So when you're using a Sawzall like that, you have to be careful. But, you know, I'll be honest, I usually have to do a little patching on that drywall wall a lot of times because I've just not taken the time to do it. But an oscillating tool would make it more accurate too, but certainly not as quick. So I'm not really saying anything here, just so you know. It's just me putting this together, and there's some music behind it that I had to turn off. I love that saw, though. This is a Makita cordless saw. It's a 36 volt because you put two 18 volts in it. I never... Nope. See, I got music behind this. I'm sorry. Well, anyways, it's I'll just explain what I'm doing here. I don't... with the music behind it, I'll get demonetized. You just want to make sure that that 2x4 is even with the rest of the wall. Yeah, Lasman, that's definitely a, you know, no doubt. When you're pulling those screws out, that sometimes creates some problems there too. So, but like I said, it's usually a closet there, but you know, that's not always the case. So again, I'm always checking to make sure everything's flat. You don't want to have a divot there. With 6x6 tiles and you're putting backer board on, if it dips in, it's going to be more of a pain in the neck to get that tile to work for it. So, you know, always make sure that your studs are in line with one another. And things have to be 16 inches on center. You do want to make sure that you pitch that stud. This is a pretty obvious point there, but you have time to address that as well at the waterproofing stage if you can't get that to be on level. And that's really because of sloppy cuts with the Sawzall. So, you know, it's rough in framing. It is what it is. It's not, you know... And then that's just those 1/4 inch shims just to meet up with the rest of the wall. And now my wall board can go right into that niche, and then my tile work can go straight into that as well. But, you know, rough in framing is exactly that. I mean, you know, I could definitely do better. I could definitely take more time to make that more accurate, but in all intents and purposes, this is just going to be fine for putting the backer board on and getting ready to waterproof. Be best to protect that tub a little bit more than I do. Again, you'll see that most of my videos that there's some better practices that can be done. And I'm trying to get better in that area as well. But this one I really was trying to get done in 7 days so that I can easily edit everything. So I got the volume back up on the next part. I'm gonna have to be careful of not having too much music behind some of this stuff. But yeah, so in here I'm again just highlighting a lot of these points so that you don't have to watch the video again necessarily. You can just kind of go through here to go over the highlights of what I discussed. Now, a couple things I didn't get into on here is that when you're doing a niche, you have to pay attention to whether where you're cutting your studs and everything are not load bearing. So typically in a bathroom, most likely the interior walls are not load bearing. Majority of them, I very, very rarely see a load bearing wall except for the exterior wall of the bathroom. But the way to pay attention to that is just going up in the attic, and if you see the joists sitting like this on the wall, then it's load bearing, and you have to add a header in for the opening that you're making. And at that point, it's not that that's a whole lot of extra work. It's not tremendously difficult, but just know that technically this should be kind of looked at by an engineer to a certain extent. And I'm certainly not going to really give you a shout on exactly what should be done in your home when it comes to that, because there's a lot of factors that go into the load of everything. But typically a lot, if you have an exterior wall, you don't want to put it in there anyways, because, if you're an older home, you have 2x4 inch walls and there just isn't enough insulation value to be behind that niche. And if you don't have insulation behind the niche, then the contraction and the expansion contraction of the heat and the cold from just the temperatures of the climate will end up making all those grout joints crack, and then it's just not good not to have things uninsulated. But then here I just kind of go through a basic concept of the non-load bearing wall if you had to cut it out, but obviously that had nothing to do with the way that we structured this, because it's not really it wasn't a full niche like this. So that's just a basic concept. Again, here I kind of highlight you want to avoid exterior walls, because even the newer homes are only 2x6s. Most of the time the niches that you make are 3.5 inches thick, or the ones that you buy prefab are only the depth of a 2x4. Still, you're not going to get enough R value. The R value of things are going up everywhere. They're really trying to push for better insulated homes. So R13 is what I recommend. That's the way it's always kind of been with 2x4 walls. But that's probably not even up to date to today's standards of what should be done. But I always say at least have an R13 behind that niche. I like to use this rock wool for mostly all my insulation. It's actually an R15 deal, and I really I have a video on YouTube on this. I really like using the rock wool because it's mineral wool. There's no paper on it, and it can actually get wet, and it's not the end of the world. It's not going to mold on itself. So again, paying attention to what kind of edging you're doing and trying to avoid slivers. So again, just addressing that. And then I'm just kind of going here. I want to get a better demonstration of this, of building up that bottom sill. But, just allowing yourself to have the niche bigger than what you needed is really nice, so that you can, build up thin set and meet that edging. So don't worry about having the niche be too big. It's actually going to make it a lot better for you. And then down here, I just have some of the recommendations on things. And again, you can leave a comment if you wanted to on that. So moving on to the big step of the day. This is going to make it feel like you're actually getting somewhere, and you can technically, after this stage, you could technically use this shower. So if you have one bathroom in your home, you're trying to do this in 7 days. This is what the outline is all about, trying to do that. But tell you what, I really, if you get prepared and you plan ahead, you could possibly do that, but it does take a lot of experience to get this done this quickly. Most likely it will take most of you longer than 7 days to do. But if you follow my guidelines on here and you get to this stage where I'm at right now with this waterproofing, you could technically use that shower and have a functional bathroom to a certain extent, because once the waterproofing up, the decorative tile layer is just literally that. It's decorative. You don't really count on that for waterproofing. It's really just the stuff that makes the bathroom look nice. So all intents and purposes, after I'm done here on the 3rd day, you could technically use that shower. And if you had to work, another 2 weeks and then come back to this would be a good, after this waterproofing stage, would not be a terrible thing to stop at that day. So I'll ask you one more question here, David. I'm installing a Schluter 38 by 60, levels off 3/8 of an inch over 60 inches. If I level one end above the finished floor, what is the best way to address leveling? Floor leveler is probably the easiest with 3/8 inch. Are you doing a curb? If you're doing a curb, then you really are not going to have too much of an issue. And really, 3/8 of an inch, in that scenario with a Schluter pan, you can build up the thin set and make that work. Just don't walk on the pan after you set it. But 3/8 of an inch, you should be able to build that up with thin set. But yeah, ultimately, if you wanted to, if the whole bathroom is in that scenario, it might be best just to floor level the whole bathroom, and then you can start from there. Typically a 4 or a 5 by 8 bathroom like this size. I don't know what size bathroom. I'm guessing it's I don't know if it's normal size or not, but 2 to 3 bags of floor leveler will do that. 3/8 of an inch. Oh, you're going curbless. And that makes it a little more difficult, man. Yeah, that definitely makes 3/8 of an inch is kind of a pain right there. Yeah, I would still, floor leveling is going to be still the best bet. I'm guessing, curbless is a pain. 3/8 of an inch is a lot to be overcome in that scenario. Yeah. So, if you're doing the, I might have to get further in detail. I don't want to take too much on the live stream on that. That is a great question, though, and it's something that can be difficult to overcome. But typically, you're recessing the bathroom floor around that shower area so that you can drop the layer that Schluter pan down below that, so if you put a blocker at that transition floor level, the outside of the bathroom, and then you use the thin set and everything to line up your pan to the outside floor, that might be the best way to go. So again, floor leveler might be the best solution to that. You would just be floor leveling the outside floor, and then where you cut the subfloor to allow the recess to happen, you can just at that area make sure that the pan stay level when you're actually installing the pan. So that's a little bit of a complicated question there. You could always install the pan level and then floor level the outside of the floor, even with that shower pan, because the Schluter pans are usually 1.1 inches thick at that size. So you could install the pan level and then floor level the bathroom to meet up with it, and then do your Ditra, and then seam between the Ditra and that floor with the Schluter membrane. So I hope that makes sense. That's definitely off topic of what I'm doing here, but that is a great question, something that we can address when I get into some of these curbless courses, because I have a curbless shower that I did last year that I have some videos on YouTube on, but I'd love to put some of that into a course as well. It's just, there's only so much time to put all this together, but that is a definitely a predicament there. So waterproofing. So this is one of my favorite boards. I've heard that there's a lot of issues with getting all of our materials these days, so I can't guarantee that you'll be able to find this stuff necessarily. But this is stuff I get from my local Best Tile here in Wexford area, and I like it because it's pretty affordable and it's a pretty easy installation. So let's just get right into it. Okay, so we're going to install Go board as our waterproofing for the tub surround. I really like this stuff because it's really affordable. I think, you know, as a contractor's price, it's about 25 bucks a sheet. It's probably going to date this, but it's really almost half as much as a lot of the other boards. And it really just does the exact same thing. It gets you a waterproofing backer board for your tile. And it's light, it's foam. You can just cut it with a utility knife. That's all you really need. And we can make a custom niche out of it as well. So there's really only a few components that really come with it, or that you need to buy with it, and that is just regular door rock screws. So you want to make sure you have the alkaline resistant screws. Just make sure that they you know, are made for door rock or cement board. I usually go with the 1 5/8" stuff.
1¼ is fine too. It really is.
And then you just need a tube of sealant. Not just one, but you're going to need, typically I just go 1 tube per sheet. That usually gives me way more than enough than I need. So make sure you get the sealant as well. And then I like using a little corner trowel. This helps smooth the sealant in the corners, and then just a standard 4-inch knife.
So
that's all you really need for this. Pretty basic. But let's go ahead and get our backboard on here. So we're at,
it really is nice
59 3/4
compared to cement board. It's so much easier to cut. Just a utility knife.
Doesn't have to be perfect.
I really do.
It's gonna go in the corner anyways. So now that we have their shims up here, now we'll be able to slide this right over the top of the tub flange. So what I would do is put a nice generous bead of sealant on the tub deck, right where that board is going to meet right in there.
I'll probably repeat this again too, but I would get 10 tubes of sealant for this. That's actually what I needed because of, you'll see later on in this video that I needed to fill in a tub gap. But this part here, technically should be a 1/4-inch caulk joint.
The
So you
sealant
should have an 1/8
out.
inch of
I would raise this
expansion
up
contraction there.
and get more underneath of there. So I'm all right over here. But
Right. So I always
don't
pay
really-
attention to like whether that's oozing out of that joint or
Coming off
not,
from
and
this
if it's
other
not,
side.
add a little bit more sealant, get it thick enough to do it. But technically, by like a handbook
there you go.
scenario,
You can
that
see it
needs to be like an 1/8 inch
oozing out of
expansion
there.
contraction joint.
Kind of what you want. Okay, so then you're just going to be doing these every 8 to 12 inches. They actually have it marked out here.
Yep. And you just want to basically screw them in like drywall. You just don't want it to get beyond, you know, you don't want to be screwing it too deep into it.
Nope,
It's
that's
just
where
a
that-
matter of just like pinching it basically. And right there. See, I always do this, and that's why I have those nail guards. You want to have nail guards. There's basically a pipe that went right through here, and I put nail guards on it, and so I was just about to screw right into it. So, you know, always put nail plates on your electrical and plumbing.
That's exactly why you have those nail plates in there. I was going to go screw right into that pipe. So it's a good thing that that nail plate's right there.
I like using an impact. This is a Hilti. I've had a lot of great luck with Hilti. Very expensive, but it's probably lasted longer than any other drill that I've had.
Where the board meets the board, you just put a nice big caulk joint on top of the board.
Yep. Any seam, anything that you butt something together, you got to put that sealant in between. So you can see how that's kind of oozing out of that joint. That's a good sign. That's the way you want it. Lightweight, dust-free almost. It's a little bit itchy. It does have kind of like a fiberglass feel, so maybe wear gloves. From my understanding, some people get really like irritated rashes from this stuff. I don't, but you know, you definitely don't want to be eating this stuff. So it really makes it easy when you have everything shimmed out. Then you can just slide that right over there.
And all the way up the corner. So again, where everything butts to each other, you want to have a nice caulk joint. Slide that in. So always smooth that out because you don't want those getting all chunked up. Now you have to go over everything with the sealant again. So, but main priority right now is just to get this board into place. So this is just that top section. It's debatable whether you really need to put the sealant there or not, but you know, technically a lot of showers, as long as the waterproofing is 80 inches off of the tub, it's usually, you know, or at least above the shower head, there's really kind of no reason to do that. But it is a good, you know, I always think it's best to do the tile all the way to the ceiling and waterproof that whole area. Very simple, fast process. And then the niche. So you can use, basically a lot of times you can just use the extra pieces that you have or
So
have
the back
waste.
of the niche, just make sure nothing's going to bump it out. But I'm obviously not going to be able to screw into my drywall. So we're just going to put some excess sealant and just bond that to the back of the drywall.
This is something to pay attention to, especially when it's a closet. You gotta let the client be aware that you're not gonna be able to put anything on that area, because obviously you'll be just screwing straight into the tile work.
Okay.
And then this is just important. This is where, you know, when you're having a niche, this is where you definitely need to have additional sealant. I always, like I said, I make a recommendation of 1 tube per sheet, but you might want an extra tube just for the niche. And then I always get a couple extra tubes.
Okay, so the plumbing wall,
for the top.
we have drywall, we have a door jamb, and so we have 1/2 inch that we're butting up to. So we're not going to be able to go over the flange. So the way that we're going to address this is just to keep this up just above the flange where it flares out. So just holding it up above the flange, and then we'll fill this in with the sealant afterwards. So that basically you don't want to, you know, you don't want to bellow it out. You just want to go straight to the top of these fender washers. But the main reason I didn't want to fur this out is because you would need extension jambs for your trim, and that's usually a really bad idea for, especially on an inside of a door, because your door latch will hit the extension jamb and it will always take the paint off of it. So
Yep.
it's a really good idea to you know, prevent from having any type of extension jamb on the inside of your doors.
It's just a spade bit
Onto our pipe.
and then this is kind of a different thing compared to cement board.
Holding our board. Keep
You
our
can
board
just-
against here.
Yep. And you can mark your valve that way. Makes it really simple. You don't have to even measure or
And
anything.
then you have the indentation of where our valve is. So we'll cut a 4.5 inch hole around that.
So 4.5 inches is the hole size for the Schluter valve seal that I'm going to be putting on here. You know, the valve seal you'll see here is, it's a nice feature, but it's definitely not a requirement. You can go without it if you don't want it, but really it's probably not a bad rule to just go with a 4.5 inch hole around that. Now this is that was a Delta shower valve, and I always take that square plaster guard off and just do a circle hole because I like to use those valve seals essentially. So here I am just measuring this out, making level marks so I can cut out for my niche. So much easier than cement board. It's not even funny. It's so much nicer. Same thing there, just kind of hit the board on the back, indication for your shower port. And then this is another great thing about the foam board. You can just kind of scribe cut it while you're having it sit there. You certainly can't do that with cement board. And remember, cement board.
Okay, so I'm gonna put some
I'll go and do that afterwards.
sealant all the way along this whole sill, and then all the way along here, so that when I embed this, I can make sure it's sloped.
Another great option for that particular scenario right there is you could thin set that down so you're not even putting any screw penetrations in that sill. That's not a bad way to go about it. That would make it better. But really, honestly, with the amount of sealant that I use on these niches, it's all going to be coated anyways. But so you definitely use a lot of sealant with this system, so you don't want to run out, because it's nothing more irritating than running out, especially when you want to, trying to get this in an efficient time. So all those corner seams have to be addressed. Like the foam board on its edge is not waterproof, so you always have to have a sealant applied on all edges in those seams. And really the rule of thumb on all of that is a 1 inch overlap of the sealant. So as you can see there, I almost got 2 inches. I'm totally within space. But you can see here on the bottom of the sill, I basically coated that entire thing. And that's where you can also make sure that that is pitching towards the shower. So this is not like a silicone. This is like a special sealant that is used for this. So this is not something that's going to mold. This is something that thin set bonds to, and it's made for doing this. I get a lot of comments about people saying I'm doing this all wrong. You can't use that sealant like that. And it's exactly the way that Johns Mansfield wants you to do it. And it's not like a latex caulk or anything like that. So you go over all your screw holes, and again, 1 inch overlap on all those screws using that putty knife. Very, very simple. Very, I think most DIYers can handle this type of project.
Seal around this pipe.
Now this is just a precursor to the
waterproofed around
the pipe seal I'm going to be putting on here. But hey, it's not a bad idea to just fill that anyways. Use some rubber gloves too. This stuff's a pain. I always use acetone to get it off my hands, and I really should be wearing rubber gloves. But this is a really important part. You want to bring your waterproofing down along the side of your tub. So make sure you seal against that. This is a really critical area. It's always an area that you see damage on your existing tubs. So bring that down along it. You want to bring your towel work down that as well. So
this whole area will just get filled with sealant.
This is where you're going to hog up like an entire tube doing. So pay attention to how your backer board is going to be installed prior to this, and make sure you order enough sealant to do that, because if all 3 walls had to be done this way, you're definitely going to go through two to 3 tubes just alone for that tub gap. Now there's a bunch of different ways of going about this tub gap too. You could use like a Schluter band that goes around it, and here I'm just kind of readdressing all of those seams. And again, bringing that waterproofing down along the side of the tub will prevent any deterioration in the future. And I actually I did run out of sealant at this point, so I had to readdress that section right there. But we're going to be addressing those drywall seams with a Curdy band. So here I'm going to be putting in the valve seal. You can use thin set to bond this, or you can use Curdy Fix, which is the product that Schluter has. Just you have to notch it with an 1/8 inch notch, and then embed it. So, but you could use thin set for that as well. But this is just like an extra.
Do that for the
insurance. This I really think is important for a tub spout
too, if you want to get some extra insurance on this.
That will definitely makes a big difference. This is another area you always see problems.
Always have a little bit
and
more.
A lot of the times the tub spouts,
coverage.
They don't like seal to this tile. There's no sealing. And you don't want to be caulking that either. I see so many caulked tub spouts because water's getting behind it and then it's leaking behind the shower. So this is a great way to ensure that no water is going to get behind that tub spout. So just trying to make sure that everything is kind of flat, because obviously once this stuff dries,
seam, what we're going to do is use
it's going to be tough to remove.
Some Schluter membrane right over the seam between the drywall and the wall. Now this is definitely going to be extending out past where my tile work is going to be,
And I'm doing that purposely because I want to have everything from the tile layer in completely waterproof. And anything that's sticking out of this, you can just use drywall mud just as if this was regular seam.
So you can see in that demonstration. No, I messed. It was terrible. My camera went dead right after that. I wasn't able to finish it, so I wasn't able to show that actual demonstration in it. But basically, the Curdy band is just applied with thin set and basically seam between there. But anything that's sticking out of here, you can just simply drywall mud over. I don't know if I have that in the video. That's the final look of it. I guess I didn't include that. I thought I did. Maybe it was one of my short videos. But yeah, so you can see how... Yep. So this is actually the next morning, I should say. So I did not get those seams on there because I did run out of caulking. But you can see how this Curdy band is going all the way down along here, and it's sealed right up against the tub. So it's almost like a double protection because I had the go board behind there, and then I also have the Schluter membrane going out there. Now my tile work was probably going to come about an inch because I only went with the bull nose on the outside. So it was right about 2 inches outside of this. So all of this fleece was exposed, but I always recommend tiling everything first and then addressing the wall. And you should be able to do that with some, if you're trying to do this in a timely manner like I am, I usually use like a 5-minute mud or a 20-minute mud to go over that seam so I can quickly get things ready to paint and everything. But I always do that after tiling because the bull nose usually has a little bit of a gap between the wall and the drywall or whatnot. So, filling that in makes it like a smaller caulk joint that you can go down along that bull nose. Really depends on the type of edging you do, but it doesn't really matter. Whatever edging you are using, I still recommend going over the Schluter membrane with drywall mud after setting all the tile. So then you can see, we'll be getting into this on day 4, but the Dieter mat also has the Schluter membrane sealed up against the tub. So that's 100% waterproof. And I always go with my waterproofing all along the sides of the wall. You can basically fill up this area with water and nothing's going to leak below it. So waterproofing is really one of the biggest steps that you can do to have a long-lasting shower. So that's obviously what our end goal is going to be. But at this waterproofing stage, you could put on your shower head and you could put on your valve trim if you needed to, and you can start taking a shower at this point. I even kind of address that there in case you're all stressed out because you didn't get things done. So I have them below here. I got some links to things you used to be able to buy this on Amazon. There really isn't a link to that anymore. But I do, a lot of these links are Amazon because it's going to help out my channel. But Amazon is not the cheapest place to go. I'm just using this as a reference. But if you go here, like the 7-board kit. Now, you only needed 6 boards for this particular bathroom. But here's like a 7. Let's see, there we have out of stock issues here. But a 7-piece kit for $320. That's not too bad. You'll probably have a sheet left over. But hey, if you're going to build a bigger niche, you might need that extra sheet. But in this particular bathroom, I only needed 6 sheets. So yeah, it was, the 7-board kit, I think for $300, not bad. Now where you spend the money on is the sealant. So they're $10 a tube. Again, I'd probably recommend getting 10 tubes for a tub and shower area. Really, I'm going to change that. I have 6 tubes here, but in this, if you're referencing my demonstration here, you needed 10 tubes to do what I did. And then I have, basically the Schluter valve seal link there, so you can just order that. And then this is really helpful. I need to order more of these just to have on hand because I never really clean my tools very well, but having that corner trowel makes it nice and easy to go in there. And then I just kind of reference again, to just shim out things, different ways of going about doing this tub surround. And these are also things, this is another option, is that you could actually just take that go board and notched out the back of the foam and allow that to slide over. That is definitely a way to go about it. And then just a lot of additional points that you can just quickly go over during the installation and just double check,
make sure you're doing things properly. So I think that these little checklists I have below here should be helpful and keep you going as quickly as possible. Go over some things about the niche, making sure that you have generous amount of sealant. And then this is just basically installing that Schluter valve, which, it is helpful because if any water got behind the escutcheon plate, it's just going to run around this thing and not go into the back of the cavity. Now, for one thing I didn't show on here was the shower port, because I don't think I actually had that with me at the time, or maybe I think my camera went dead the day that I did that. We were filming and we were thinking that we were filming and we weren't. But I would recommend getting a 3/4 inch valve seal for the what do you call it, the shower head, just because the actual shower arm is a little bit thicker, and it's going to be, you won't be able to get it through the 1/2 inch. Now, they do sell a kit of, let me just look up that Schluter valve seal. They usually sell them in a kit where you get one of each deal. I'll have to find that link, but typically they don't have, like, this 3/4 inch one has this big bump out there. They have ones that come with the kit that is all flat, and I actually prefer that. So I'll put that in below. I don't know why. Schluter valve seal and pipe. Let's see if I could find that. Not coming up. Well, anyways, I'll put that in there. I just want to just address it. You don't want to use a 1/2 inch seal for your shower port. Now, the shower port is obviously way up there, so it might not even be an issue for you. But then I go over applying the Curdy band along this drywall seam, and then just some helpful tips below here. So here, okay, I did make another video on this particular point of the membrane to the drywall transition, since I did not get that in the above video. So for the membranes, you can see how soupy this is. This is really thin, and this is for the Ditra mat, and in any membranes that you're installing. That is a little loose. It is a really loose consistency. Yeah. So, but it's really important. Seam, what we're going to do is use some Schluter membrane right over the seam between the drywall and the wall. Now, this is definitely going to be extending out past where my tile work is going to be, and I'm doing that purposely because I want to have everything from the tile layer in completely waterproof. And anything that's sticking out of this, you can just use drywall mud, just as if this was regular seam tape, to go right down it. So that's just kind of referencing another shower that I did with the same concept. So that's the 1/8 by 1/8 inch Curdy trowel to embed that. You don't really need a lot of thin set to embed that. And then obviously just making sure it's scraped a nice flat. This will be another course I'll eventually have out. This is just like a standard master bathroom shower. I have a lot of that stuff on my YouTube channel, that I already have some of this put together. So the next step is going to be getting into day 4, and that's putting that membrane down and getting into the tiling process, which will be a lot of fun. I always find this to be, I don't know, time flies during these days when I'm tiling. It's just kind of where I'm zoned out, and I really love doing it. But then you want to get into the second coat and then start working on your tile layout. And I have some great tips on mosaics, making sure that you have these prepped on this day so that you can easily install them and not fuss around with thin set oozing out between the joints. So this is all in preparation, for day 5 to complete the tub surround with tile. But you follow this type of method, you should be able to do that. And I have a whole bunch of helpful links of the tiling process is where you can spend some money on tools. But I really don't, most of the time you really just need a good grinder, diamond wheel, a laser, but there's all these different components that make it easier, horseshoe shims and all that. So anyways, go to bathroom remodeling teachable.com. I have the link in the description of this video. But that completes day 3, part 2. We'll get into day 4. I'm going to work on getting another series of videos. I don't know if I'll have it ready for tomorrow, but if not, Monday. But hey, again, give me a like on this video. Leave a comment below about any questions that you may have on your own bathroom. All of that is just going to make this platform better for you, and certainly hoping I can really start making a business out of this type of deal. So thanks everyone for joining me today. We're about an hour and a half in, so take care. Have a great Saturday. Thanks so much.